Hi there, boys and girls. Today we're going to read from our Frog and Toad Treasury book. It's an anthology book with several stories all inside. It's written and illustrated by Arnold Lobel, and we're going to read the story. That's what it's called. One day in summer, Frog was not feeling well. Toad said, "Frog, you are looking quite green." "But I always look green," said Frog. "I'm a frog." "Today you look very green, even for a frog," said Toad. "Get into my bed and rest." Toad made Frog a cup of hot tea, and Frog drank the tea and then said, "Tell me a story while I'm resting." "All right," said Toad. Let me think of a story to tell you." Toad thought and thought, but he could not think of a story to tell Frog. "I will go out on the front porch and walk up and down," said Toad. "Perhaps that will help me to think of a story." Toad walked up and down on the porch for a long time, but he could not think of a story to tell Frog. Sometimes it's hard to think of a story. Then Toad went into the house, and he stood on his head. "Why are you standing on your head?" asked Frog. "I hope that if I stand on my head, it will help me think of a story," said Toad. Do you think that will help him think of a story? Toad stood on his head for a long time, but he could not think of a story to tell Frog. Then Toad poured a glass of water over his head. "Why are you pouring water over your head?" asked Frog. "I hope that if I pour water on my head, it will help me to think of a story," said Toad. Toad poured many glasses of water on his head, but he still could not think of a story to tell Frog. Then Toad began to bang his head against the wall. "Why are you banging your head against the wall?" asked Frog. "I hope that if I bang my head against the wall hard enough, it will help me to think of a story." Will that help you think of a story? Banging your head on the wall? I don't think so. "I'm feeling much better now, Toad," said Frog. "I don't think that I need a story anymore." Then you get out of my bed and let me get into it," said Toad, "because now I feel terrible." Frog said, "Would you like me to tell you a story, Toad?" "Yes," said Toad, "if you know one." "Once upon a time," said Frog, "there were two good friends, a frog and a toad. The frog was not feeling well, and he asked his friend, the toad, to tell him a story. The toad could not think of a story. He walked up and down on the porch, but he could not think of a story. He stood on his head, but he could not think of a story. He poured water over his head, but he could not think of a story. He banged his head against the wall, but he still could not think of a story. Then the toad did not feel so well, so the frog was feeling better. So the toad went to bed, and the frog got up, and he told him a story. The end." "How was that, Toad?" asked Frog. But Toad did not answer. Toad had fallen asleep. The end. Next time we read from our Frog and Toad anthology book, we'll read A Lost Button. Hope you have a great day today. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.